Welcome back to Duties of Parents by J.C. Ryle. We are now at duty number 11, which is train them to a habit of always redeeming the time. And Ryle writes, idleness is the devil's best friend. It is the surest way to give him an opportunity of doing us harm. An idle mind is like an open door, and if Satan does not enter in by himself, it is certain he will throw in something to raise bad thoughts in our souls. No created being was ever meant to be idle. Service and work is the appointed portion of every creature of God. The angels in heaven work. They are the Lord's ministering servants, ever doing his will. Adam in paradise had work. He was appointed to dress the garden and to keep it. The redeemed saints in glory will have work. They rest not day and night, singing praise and glory to him who bought them. And man, weak, sinful man, must have something to do, or else his soul will soon get into an unhealthy state. We must have our hands filled and our minds occupied with something, or else our imaginations will soon ferment and breed mischief. And what is true of us is true of our children too. Alas indeed, for the man that has nothing to do. The Jews thought idleness a positive sin. It was a law of theirs that every man should bring up his son to some useful trade, and they were right. They knew the heart of man better than some of us appear to do. Idleness made Sodom what she was. This was the iniquity of thy sister Sodom. Pride, fullness of bread, and abundance of idleness was in her. Ezekiel 16:49. Idleness had much to do with David's awful sin with the wife of Uriah. I see in 2 Samuel 11 that Joab went out to war against Ammon, but David tarried still at Jerusalem. Was not that idle? And then it was that he saw Bathsheba, and the next step we read of his tremendous and miserable fall. Verily, I believe that idleness has led to more sin than almost any other habit that I could name. I suspect it is the mother of many a work of the flesh, the mother of adultery, fornication, drunkenness, and many other deeds of darkness that I have not time to name. Let your own conscience say whether or not I speak the truth. You were idle, and once the devil knocked at the door and came in. And indeed I do not wonder. Everything in the world around us seems to teach the same lesson. It is the still water which becomes stagnant and impure. The running, moving streams are always clear. If you have steam machinery, you must work it, or it soon gets out of order. If you have a horse, you must exercise him. He is never so well as when he has regular work. If you would have good bodily health yourself, you must take exercise. If you always sit still, your body is sure at length to complain. And just so it is with the soul. The active, moving mind is a hard mark for the devil to shoot at. Try to be always full of useful employment, and thus your enemy will find it difficult to get room to sow tares. Reader, I ask that you set these things before the minds of your children. Teach them the value of time, and try to make them learn the habit of using it well. It pains me to see children idling over what they have in hand, whatever it may be. I love to see them active and industrious and giving their whole heart to what they do, giving their whole heart to lessons when they have to learn, giving their whole heart even to their amusements when they go to play. But if you love them well, let idleness be counted as a sin in your family. The next duty of parents, number 12, is to train them with a constant fear of overindulgence. This is the one point of all on which you have most need to be on your guard. It is natural to be tender and affectionate toward your own flesh and blood, and it is the excess of this very tenderness and affection which you have to fear. Take heed that it does not make you blind to your children's faults and deaf to all advice about them. Take heed lest it make you overlook bad conduct rather than have the pain of inflicting punishment and correction. I know well that punishment and correction are disagreeable things. Nothing is more unpleasant than giving pain to those we love and calling forth their tears. But so long as hearts are what hearts are, it is vain to suppose, as a general rule, that children can ever be brought up without correction. Spoiling is a very expressive word, and sadly full of meaning. Now it is the shortest way to spoil children to let them have their own way, to allow them to do wrong and not punish them for it. Believe me, you must not do it, whatever pain it may cost you, unless you wish to ruin your children's souls. The following proverbs instruct us. He that spares his rod hates his son, but he that loves him chastens him at times. It's Proverbs 13. Chasten thy son while there is hope, and let not thy soul spare for his crying. Proverbs 19. Foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, but the rod of correction shall drive it from him. Proverbs 22. Withhold not correction from the child, for if thou beatest him with the rod, he shall not die. Thou shalt beat him with the rod, and deliver his soul from hell. Proverbs 23. The rod and reproof give wisdom, but a child left to himself bringeth his mother to shame. Correct thy son, and he shall give thee rest. Yes, he shall give you delight of your soul. It's Proverbs 29. How strong and forcible are these texts! How melancholy is the fact that in many Christian families they seem almost unknown. Their children need reproof, but it is hardly ever given. They need correction, but it is hardly ever employed. And yet this book of Proverbs is not obsolete and unfit for Christians. It is given by inspiration of God and profitable. It is given for our learning, even as the epistles to the Romans and Ephesians. Surely the believer who brings up his children without attention to its counsel is making himself wise above that which is written, and greatly errs. Fathers and mothers, I tell you plainly, if you never punish your children when they are at fault, you are doing them a grievous wrong. I warn you, this is the rock on which the saints of God in every age have only too frequently made shipwreck. I would fain persuade you to be wise in time and keep clear of it. See it in Eli's case. His sons Hophni and Phinehas made themselves vile, and he restrained them not. He gave them no more than a tame and lukewarm reproof, when he ought to have rebuked them sharply. In one word, he honored his sons above God. And what was the end of these things? He lived to hear of the death of both his sons in battle, and his own gray hairs were brought down with sorrow to the grave. See, too, the case of David. Who can read without pain the history of his children and their sins? Amnon's incest, Absalom's murder and proud rebellion, Adonijah's scheming ambition. Truly these were grievous wounds for the man after God's own heart to receive from his own house. But was there no fault on his side? I fear there can be no doubt there was. I find a clue to it all in the account of Adonijah in 1 Kings 1:6. His father had not displeased him at any time in saying, "What hast thou done so?" There was the foundation of all the mischief. David was an overindulgent father, a father who let his children have their own way, and he reaped according as he had sown. Parents, I beseech you for your children's sake, beware of overindulgence. I call on you to remember it is your first duty to consult their real interests and not their fancies and likings, to train them, not to humor them, to profit, not merely to please. You must not give way to every wish and caprice of your child's mind, however much you may love him. You must not give way to every wish and caprice of your child's mind, however much you may love him. You must not let him suppose his will is to be everything, and that he has only to desire a thing and it will be done. Do not, I pray you, make your children idols, lest God should take them away and break your idol, just to convince you of your folly. Learn to say no to your children. Show them that you are able to refuse whatever you think is not fit for them. Show them that you are ready to punish disobedience, and that when you speak of punishment, you are not only ready to threaten, but also to perform. Do not threaten too much. Threaten folks and threaten faults, live long. Punish seldom, but really and in good earnest. Frequent and slight punishment is a wretched system indeed. Beware of letting small faults pass unnoticed under the idea it is a little one. There are no little things in training children. All are important. Little weeds need plucking up as much as any. Leave them alone, and they will soon be great. Reader, If there be any point which deserves your attention, believe me, it is this one. It is one that will give you trouble, I know. But if you do not take trouble with your children when they are young, they will give you trouble when they are old. Choose which you prefer.